Hello, everybody. Episode 33 of Creative Flux. 33.
Three.
Amazing.
Amazing. I feel like only yesterday we were talking last week. Weeks just go by faster. I don't know. You had your birthday recently. How do you feel older? Are you older and wiser? Is time moving faster now?
Yes, I believe so. I think I instantly on your birthday, you download the latest skills from the cloud, and you're just like way smarter. You could just
Yeah, that's how it
uh,
works.
that's how it works. It's the latest update, software
Yeah,
patching.
exactly. Hopefully they'll figure out how to keep maintain the hardware as well going forward.
Oh, totally. We got a cool birthday gift. I mean, Anthropic released that remote code the other day. Um, that was cool.
Yeah,
So that's a
yeah.
nice little
Now
gift.
you can code as you cut your cake. Just on the phone all the time.
There goes all my free time.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's gonna be like, "Who are you texting all the time?" Like, don't worry, it's just Claude. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it is
w-
interesting. So remote control, it's interesting because as soon as Claude Code came out, very few people were coming up with these hacks where they were using Tailscale and SSHing into their terminals so they can basically have their Claude Code session accessed on their phones. It was hacky. There's some workarounds. You kind of need to install, Tailscale and set up configurations and stuff, which I do recommend checking out. I mean, Tailscale is pretty cool. I haven't played around much with it, but it basically creates a private VPN between your devices, which is
mhm.
very cool, hacky. And so Claude released their own, version where you just need literally they give you a QR code or which opens up Claude. You can, and if you have the app, you can just go to the code tab in Claude and just you have the session right there.
All right.
So very cool.
Yeah,
And you
no,
just
it is
started
cool.
with just saying Claude dash dash remote control. So
Right,
yeah, it's
right,
very
for sure.
very easy.
Yeah, that was an exciting little release. Just because although I think that the ecosystem and the state of these tools, when you're using Claude Code, there is so a lot of people can run multiple Claude Code sessions in parallel. You want to build few different features. You're at your desk. You still, I think, at least if you're working on existing code bases, you want to make sure that they're not going too far off the rails. You're kind of looking at what they're doing. You might have like a few different windows open and watching what their features are adding. If it's a completely new vibe coded project and you just let it run for like forever and you don't really care, like that works. I could see remote control being really cool just to help progress along that route. But if you're working on an existing code base, I still don't see necessarily how remote control can be like super powerful because you kind of still want to be around the code and at your desk. But I do see it being powerful. Like I start a session on my computer, I go and make a new coffee, and like that 5-10 minutes that I'm there, it just maybe ping me while I'm making my espresso, and I'm just like, oh yeah, continue, like that's right, or just guide it. But it's really cool progress, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's somebody actually tweeted about this, and this idea, hundreds of startups have started and died on this idea, but it's such a tantalizingly amazing idea that your the idea of that your computer should not be your physical device; it should just live in the cloud. Like your computer is basically your, whatever your Mac OS basically instance, 32 GB RAM, 500 GB drive, right, whatever, right? It should just be an EC2 instance, whatever, right? And we have the technology right now for the latency to be so low that all your phone or your computer should just be able to access the same thing. So, you're on your Mac and you're working on your Claude Code, whatever, and then you go on your phone and it's the same session. So it's not even just Claude Code, it's the same windows, it's the same files, everything. And there's hundreds of stars who've tried this. One of the more popular ones was Mighty, and the Soil star that kind of failed. And but I wonder, like, it's one of those ideas where you keep coming back to. It's like kind of like social network with verifications kind of thing, which I think is a terrible idea. It's more terrible than this, at least. But the promise of this is so much that every 6 to 12 months, people come back and like, oh, maybe their technology is better now. Maybe there's something. And I wonder now, maybe this time is different because now people are, because of AI, maybe it does make sense to have something like that. Because I personally would love that for multiple reasons. First, just like the convenience, right? Like I can work on my MacBook, but then go on my phone. And it's the same thing. I don't have to context switch. It's the same stuff. But also safety, like steals my phone or maybe I lose it. I just lose a device. Apple kind of does this already, but like just literally there should be no data on my device, right? It kind of goes against the whole Mac Mini local thing. I believe more in the cloud. I'm, I guess, on the other end of it.
No, it's super interesting because I mean, yeah, there are very heavy advocates of I want to own my data. I want everything to be local. I don't want to I should be able to not have to be connected to the internet to access my things. I want everything to be on my device. There will always be a latency penalty just by the nature of physics, unless physics changes. Like, yeah, I do see it being much more hybrid. Like I was really like I would love like I don't know how this is not a thing, but like I have my MacBook at my desk. I plug it into my monitor when I'm home, and I have a MacBook because the flexibility it gives me, we can go to WeWork or a coffee shop and all the data's on my MacBook. So if I'm home, I plug it into a monitor, I get the benefits of a bigger screen. But if I'm at the coffee shop, I can still have all the data on my MacBook. But like if I'm home, I would love to have a Mac Mini here that can connect to my MacBook and essentially just offload all the major processing to the Mac Mini because that's just going to be more powerful than my MacBook. But there's no way to do this. If I, eh, it's like I wish you could do a hybrid sort of thing, and even hybrid in the cloud. Like if you want like a massive like GPU in the cloud and just to make it work super easily. I think there's some attempts to start to get there, but if I
Yeah,
just
I
want to
mean, but
open
that's the
Photoshop,
virtual software it gives you,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's so interesting because I remember Dax, he put out this video about how he sets it up. So it was very interesting. So the way he does it is, Dax, he's the founder of Open Code. I mean, forget, like, there's other stuff. He's OpenX. He's done lots of cool software projects, but he basically rents out this 32 GB RAM, whatever. No, it's actually more than that. Like, he has this ultra, like, Apple basically EC2 instance, and he virtualizes it. And so his wife basically has like an eighth of it or something because she doesn't go crazy on it. And then he has this other, but he can totally balance that out. So when they're on vacation, he'll like give more bandwidth to his MacBook Air or whatever. And so you have
right,
this flexibility with virtualization with hypervisors, right? Because you can do that. If everything, if your box is just virtual, it just exists. You go everywhere. I don't know. I think that's just a cool feature. Like imagine going to a coffee shop. You don't even need your MacBook. You just go and they just give you a laptop, which is just a screen. Your laptop is just a screen and keyboard, and you just teleport into your instance. I mean, that's all that matters. Now, I would definitely wash those keys just because laptops are dirty and you're sharing that. But I mean, that'd be cool, right? You don't have to carry around backpacks. You just go and you're like, hey, I need access.
right, for sure. No, it's super, super interesting. And then you just wonder like who owns the machines in the cloud. Is it Apple? Is it the big guys? I always thought it was even interesting to have like a distributed computing sort of thing where you can timeshare or just rent out part of your idle MacBooks. Like everybody has their phone, everybody has a laptop. Like I look around me outside and like every single unit probably if you one person has at least one computer. And how often is that using all of its compute?
Right.
And so if I could run essentially, if you could do distributed inference, this would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I can run a small model on my computer and like distribute some of the weights to other people's computers. And so like locally, it's not going to the cloud with the latency penalty at the cloud. It's like literally like the units around me because maybe we only need 32 computers and they're all willing to share 10% of their compute power. We could just run inference, we could run compute locally. It's still kind of like local data because it's not going up to anyone. You encrypt it and everything. And you could actually pay. Like I would rather pay, I think, other people to rent out their idle compute as my neighbors versus paying the cloud, like Google or Amazon, for their compute. It becomes a resource that's like, you can rent out just like a apartment. I don't know.
I mean, it's an interesting, and it's again one of those tantalizing ideas people have tried. Like, I remember there was one of the first blockchain company like Golem and stuff. They did that distributed inference, distributed storage. I do think there's something there. It always will run into the issue with the economics of scale of a data center because turns out like if you put like hundreds of GPUs or CPUs together in an air chilled optimized facility, that's just always going to be better. But there's something there because you're right. It's just sitting there. Why not use it? And so it's kind of similar. I actually, that was one of the tidbits that Elon, with XAI is like, supposedly they want to use Tesla's for compute. Like it's just sitting in your garage. So they want to do distributed training on their model by using Teslas, which I don't know how they understand the mechanics of that better, but that would be interesting, right? I mean, use all this compute
Right.
unused computer.
Well, totally. Well, what an interesting start to the generative media podcast.
Yeah.
Distributed compute, remote control, coding.
Yeah, I mean,
Amazing.
it's all connected, you know. I mean, from this to Citrini's like dumb beer article about how we're gonna get too productive and this is gonna cause a collapse in the economy. Like, you know, you got to talk about all of these things, you know, because it's just all
Yeah.
connected.
I saw this thing today. I thought it was hilarious. It was some guy used their Claude bot, whatever, to find on Zillow every home listing in Tampa, Florida that has been on the market for like more than 30 something days. And then he told OpenClaw, it's like, hey, find every listing that's been on the market for like over 30 days and lowball them and like lowball them like 70%. And so he was just like going out there. So all these people that can't sell their homes and just was giving like super lowball offers. And he said that he got a 70 something percent reply rate, all negative, but like 70% of people replied. He's like, screw you. Like, this is like, what are you doing? But this is crazy. I mean, this is like a whole nother topic that I've been like falling into,
Oh, yeah, I
about the
mean,
homes and stuff. But like,
it's crazy.
yeah.
I'm almost scared of opening Facebook at this point because you see the thousands and thousands of likes and comments on clearly like just complete slop, like, you know, oh my God, this person survived 50 cancers or whatever, like, and just clearly AI generated like weird photo. But people, I mean, yeah, I don't think you know, truly realize like how much past the uncanny valley, basically the point of where, you know, the Turing test of images, videos, voice, we already are, you know. I mean, we got there years ago, I think, you know. So it's crazy. I totally believe in the dead internet theory at this point. I do think that most content is just fake and done by bots, and we just have to, it's an interesting, like, we really have to think about like what it looks like when most of information around you is just generated at this point. Like, what are the second and third order effects of
Hmm. Right. No, it is interesting. I feel like, yeah, all text content on the internet is bot generated, and then it'll be soon like YouTube, because YouTube was like, you couldn't really have a bot
that?
generate videos
Yeah, I mean,
because,
people have,
but
and
now,
companies have had to take drastic action. I think so. Twitter just, Nikita announced, they're basically banning you to reply to a tweet with an API unless the original tweet added you, like, so it actually mentioned you specifically. And they have to, because every big account would just get hundreds of bot replies immediately after they posted, and because now you can do that with the open claw and stuff. So it's just, you're just fighting this insane spam war. It's just really hard. The problem is actually one of the hardest challenges out there is trying to figure out spam. People say, "Oh, just ban the. Why can't you just ban this bot?" Like, so easy. I can clearly see, but when you do it at scale, there's just millions and millions of edge cases you have to, and you can't just be too trigger friendly with that, because, you know, you can't ban good accounts. So it's a hard line.
yeah, no, it's gonna be super interesting. I don't know. I know we talked about this last week, but like the return to in person, I think is just going to be more important. I think it's going to be a really positive side effect of the dead internet theory, because text is going to be dead. You're going to have authoritative figures that like are verified in some way, shape, or form, I think. And then you'll have, for right now, I think we have about a year left of real video and images on social media. It's already like really filled with AI stuff, but I think
Pretty
we have
much.
like about a year until it's like it's all AI. So I mean, in that world, it's going to be, we're going to value human connection. We're going to value the in-person coffee shops and the in-person IRL events.
Yeah. Definitely, but it also makes me think like the level of quality. I mean, the way to stand out is just gonna get so, it's just getting exponentially harder almost every week. Like, you know, how do you stand out basically? And
Mhm.
the pessimistic take is that you basically, there's a point where it's just impossible, because if you're not already kind of grandfathered in with connections and stuff, like nobody can will
Right.
like pay attention to you because there's just too much
Totally.
noise at that point.
This is interesting. I mean, I'll take this on to a different angle before we get into Nano Banana too. But I have a friend, he works at Disney. He's on the streaming side. It's really interesting to talk to him about like how streaming is and Hollywood is adapting. And but we were talking about Netflix a little bit. I know they've, you know, the Warner Brothers Discovery acquisition, and then we have Paramount. We talked about this in the previous episodes. um, like in a world where the internet is dead, it everybody goes into these walled gardens, and each walled garden, it's like you have Facebook ecosystem, you have Twitter, you have LinkedIn, you have YouTube, and these are like you sign up for these accounts, they have their own essentially like intranet, like, and each one of those, if you have user submitted content, and any user that signs up is able to post onto that platform, then you're going to get overrun by AI bots and slop. So if there's no sort of quality control. And so I think that's what's happened on the internet, because there's no quality control on the internet, because anybody can create a website, anyone can create anything. Then there's slightly quality control on Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever. You have to fight against bots, but you have to sign up and you have to get into the ecosystem. YouTube is like that, but the content is harder to produce. But I think in a year or so, most content on YouTube is going to be, a lot of it's going to be AI generated, like a lot of it is today. And then you go one step farther. What's more gated than YouTube? And I would argue that some of these streaming providers that are on your, like Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO and Hulu and whatever, those are essentially like those are platforms where somebody can create something and get it on there, but they have to go through an actual process of going to Netflix, right? It's like it's a hard process. Not anybody can go and get their movie on Netflix, but maybe that's why I think that, like, I have a really strong bull case for Netflix, because that's
Yeah.
where like good stuff's going to be.
No, I 100% agree. And actually, to extend that to a second tier of just creators, that it's almost like being a curator. And we already see that, right? There are accounts we follow that they don't write anything original. They just like take other people's information, regurgitate it, either summarize that in a newsletter or repost. And because we trust that person, whatever, right? That's the authority. And I feel like that will extend to media. Like, maybe, I actually did that. I launched my own Spotify album. And so, but like, it wasn't like an artist. It was just like songs I liked. So I mean, this is like a shanty songs, like sailor songs, stuff.
Hmm.
And I wonder, you're going to have people who you can in a world, let's say with Suno, you can generate Suno V6 or V7. It's just amazing songs everywhere. Just, how are you gonna find bang? Or maybe you'll just like be like, hey, I love this guy's music taste. He just always like the type of music he likes, I like, and so you might follow. So maybe we'll have people with media, like video, text, whatever. We'll just follow people who either generate or you know they take on the role of, okay, I'm gonna go on the internet, I'm gonna find through the noise, I'm gonna find the 50 things that matter, and you can just look at those. And so I feel like you're gonna, at least in the medium term, there's gonna be this huge opportunity to be these authoritative minifigures. We already see that with Substack and other places, but I think it's just gonna exponentially increase, and with other formats like video,
Right.
which is harder because right now, I mean, that's such a new format. So maybe there'll be a Substacks for video almost kind of thing.
Totally. No, it's interesting. I mean, there's a Discord that I joined about 2 years ago. It's called Put You On Club. And it's like this guy, and he started a Discord community for music sharing. And it was like highly vetted. And like there was like, you could just submit your songs, whatever. But it was pretty much, he would come out every week with like this curated list of really under the radar, mainly house, EDM, like electronic music, and it was really good. And so I actually subscribed to his like playlists, and every week he'd come out with like his own like Discover Weekly that Spotify does, but it's like curated by him. So if you trust him and his taste in music, like it's actually going to be really, really high quality stuff. And that was like about 2 years ago. And then he expanded that to actually like in-person events, which was interesting. So like they would post, like they'd get some of these artists out there and shows. So maybe it'll be like similar to that, where you have these influencers, but like the
Yeah.
communities.
And I want to be clear, like, and if so, for anyone listening, like, you shouldn't be too disappointed. You should actually be very excited, because I do think there's still so much alpha of taste. Like somebody actually said, like, if you think about it, we have Sedans too now. We have Kling, we have all these models that can do so much shit. But if you look at what's out there that's getting millions of, it's just like dumb. Oh, I created. I mean, it's funny, Brad Pitt versus it's great, but there's nowhere near or like something I would consider art, like proper, like, wow. I have yet to, like, have you ever seen an AI video that made you go, wow, that moved me? Like, no. And it's not because of the technology. I don't, just because an AI makes it, it's not meaningful. I don't believe that. It's more just a taste. I'm like, if I like reading something like a Bukowski or whatever, right? Or something like that just hits you. I'm listening to like I'm right now I'm listening to Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Amazing writer. What a like I would be laughing my ass off just like listening to some of his witty, the way he writes. It's just so good and it just paints. And I feel like there's room for that. Like
Mhm.
there's room for that taste where people can take these morals, make something funny, make something that really like moves people. There's still so much opportunity out there because most people, I do think you'll see, even if you double the quality of if today you basically can create a 3 hour long Avatar level, James Cameron level movie, you still won't get Avatar. Maybe there'll be less than 1% of people in the world who actually can prompt their way to that, even when it's possible.
Totally. No, no, absolutely. I completely agree. It's actually funny. I was thinking about this when you said like, "Oh, have you ever seen a AI thing that moved you?" And I was like, No." But actually, one of my favorite things right now, not I wouldn't say it moved me in any way. But probably my favorite videos I've been addicted to are these history like revisualized videos on YouTube. They're so cool, and essentially, it's like a 10-minute
Is
video.
it like the walking through 16th century England or whatever?
Yeah, kind of. It's like I saw one, it was reimagining San Francisco back in, like, the early 19th century, like, in the 1800s when they first settled San Francisco and, like, what it looked like. And they have, like we had maps and we had some drawings of what it looked like. We have historical references of the city, and then they used AI to bring that to
Yeah,
life.
but
And you
that's different. Like they use AI as a
Totally.
tool and it was narrated by a
Right,
person. It wasn't like
right.
somebody just single one-shotted AI generated video, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of human there. I mean, as someone who actually understands history who's doing that.
Right, but on these ones, I wonder, I do think AI could do this in a one shot. Like, I think that AI knows the history. It could pull the images and do the voiceovers. I saw one about, like, ancient Constantinople, and then also, like, in Egypt, like, ancient Egypt, and they were just cool to watch. I mean, like, there wasn't any, like if I wanted to sit down and do it, I could have done it. Like, it's not that didn't require much taste, but it was just cool to see the visualizations of, like, what society looked like back there. I was like, I like that stuff.
I think that's awesome stuff. And to be clear, I actually think that, but that's where I think the taste mattered a lot. The person who actually, came up with that idea and stuff. Like, it's just like the bar is low. It's just coming up with even
Yeah,
that
the
kind of
bar as
idea.
well.
Because most of the stuff I see is just, Logan Paul fights this guy. Like, it's just like dumb AI.
That one was so dumb. Logan Paul and, like, the you saw that
Yeah,
one where
and Door Brothers, like we took a $300 million movie. It was absolute garbage. I mean, no, I've Door Brothers have put out some good stuff, but I'm like, this is the shit this is considered the top of the top right now in AI. And I was like, this is so dumb.
wait, was the Logan Paul one the Door Brothers too?
Yeah, he did this where he basically became a superhero, and then Jake Paul came with that was funny. He had this broken chin. So I mean, but again, for what is considered the best of the best in terms of AI, studios, I just don't think that was that great. I think we can do so much better. Anyways, I should just instead of like criticizing, I should be in the arena doing it. So next time when Dance 2 comes out, which is so annoying, Sea Dance 2 still hasn't come out. So apparently, this is the rumor I've heard. Model basically got absolutely hammered. They were supposed to launch February 24th. They couldn't. The API documentation was supposed to come out a couple of days earlier. The labs had been told, or the scalers. Sorry, the host providers like Fall. They didn't get their API documentation, and apparently there's been a delay because the model just is. It's kind of like the GPT image. I've one moment, with it's happening with video with them. Like they're just completely slammed. The second was the copyright restriction. They did get a lot of lawyers going after them, and so ByteDance, even though they're in China, they still were a little scared, and they were like, "We gotta button this up before we actually put it out." So those are the two things, unfortunately, that have pushed back them. They did release Sea Dream 5. So Sea Dream, we've talked about it. ByteDance, the Sea Dance is their video model. Sea Dream is their image model, and they released Sea Dream 5. I think originally they were gonna do a two combo release. They did it earlier because it was less problematic. The light version, it's fine. I was honestly a little disappointed. I thought it would be more like Nano Banana 2 level, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's still good. Step up from 4.5. It's good, very cheap. So definitely recommend checking it out. It's on fall, etc.
Did you see I won't show it and share my screen, but I'll link it in the show notes 'cause I wanna avoid a copyright strike, but, like, did you see that one tweet where it was a Twitter somebody said it asks ByteDance, what material did you use to train the model? And ByteDance goes, yes. And it was like the video of like every single Paramount character, every Netflix character, every Disney character. It was just like everything. It was a 1 minute video of like them in a massive arena. There's like Harry Potter, there's Neo, there's Dumbledore, there's Harley Quinn, there's like Jennifer Aniston, Batman. I was like, this is hilarious. And they're all just like fighting like Avengers Endgame style.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things, which is why I feel like the model that will really truly let us create stuff like that will have to be open source, because no one company, they can't just take responsibility for that, because they'll just get sued out of oblivion to oblivion basically. And so
Totally.
the way I think it'll work is one of these companies, probably Chinese company, they'll release an open source model, and then they can say, hey, we didn't do anything, they're doing it, like, don't go after us, we absolve ourselves of our responsibility. It's an
For sure.
interesting precedent. If you release an open source model that then somebody can use to do some cyber attack or something, are you on the hook for it? It's just I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so right now. But this is like when like precedent and like laws will change. I mean, especially in the like I think there's a lot of precedent around like if you like are yeah, if you develop, let's say, email, and like email was like your Gmail accounts were used to communicate like cyber issue. I don't know. Google's not going to be on the hook for those, but like, yeah, it's very, very interesting. There's one thing I wanted to show really quick before we get into Nano Banana 2. There's this model that I thought was really cool. Or this is not a model, actually. This was like a software harness that makes it really easy to modify the camera angle of an
yeah,
image. And so I just wanted to show this because we're going to talk about images in a second. Like if you see this, like the top is like a generated image. Let's say like Nano Banana 2 generated this image here. And the bottom shows this camera angle. So if you're an animator or you're working in video, this is if you've worked in Blender or whatever, like you have a camera and that camera has a projection onto some frame. So you see the camera right here. You see the angle of the camera. You see probably the aperture, and then you have the rotation. And so what's really cool is like they took this photo, this image that was generated, and then they can move the camera around, and then they can regenerate the image as if the camera moved to that place. And so like, look at this. I mean, it's 13 seconds. Move the camera, and it stayed consistent. Like this is the type of stuff that really will make that creative control super powerful for Hollywood, for any sort of like AI creators where like I need this specific shot.
yeah, 100%. I actually sent you this. So you know what they're using behind the hood for this? This is the Quen image edit multiple angles LoRa, and this is the power of amazing open source models. You can basically take somebody, your Quen put out this image editing model. Somebody was like, I just want multiple angles. They trained the LoRa on it, and it just, all it does is it takes this angle, and somebody then takes this, builds an awesome 3D harness around it, which is like, I mean, it's like because yeah, how do you, rather than saying 217 degrees to the vertical, you're like, no, I just want this angle. So this is like the creativity that comes from open source, so also awesome.
I just want to try this. So this is Foul. I know we talk about Foul a bunch. I just signed in, so and Open Banana 2 is here, so we'll talk about that in a second. But so they take this image, and this is the output. So let's say, so this is the input image, horizontal angle. I don't even know what this means. Yeah, this is like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's
right.
exactly what you're
So
saying.
it's hard to visualize what
Vertical angle, maybe like, oh, so the zero's even here, so that's no elevation. Maybe we'll do like
yeah, I
super
guess it's
elevated, zoom out. Let's just run it. I wonder how long this will take. Probably like
but
10
you can see how
seconds.
you can hook up a 3D image to those three values, which just change in a 360-degree space, right? Which is so cool, which is like way more intuitive. So that's
Right.
a
So
cool
this would
tool, actually. I mean, you could have build a whole product on that. You could have charged people money for
totally.
the
And I think that like that's the thing. Like if you're a builder out here, like, oh, what should I build? I mean, look at these models. Like the models are really capable. Can you build a UI around there that makes it like way better? Like, okay, look, I vertical angle, like 65 degrees, I guess, like right above them almost.
yeah, yeah. Like there's so many cool info you can do. You can even set up a workflow where you take multiple angles and then interpolate between them to create like a 360 drone shot, like, maybe just go around and like kind of like
Right.
that Severance scene where, you go.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Let's see if this one just zoomed in. Same thing. Pretty good. I mean, a little
Yeah.
wobbly, but
Yeah.
solid. Let's talk about Nano Banana 2. So Nano Banana 2 is here. Here it is.
Yeah. Here it is. Point 8 cents an image. It's basically supposedly, I mean, this is where vibes are going to be important, but because it was just released, but it's supposed to be as good as Banana Pro, or but way cheaper. And we've talked
Mhm.
about how having a less costly, you know, option just opens up so much, opportunity for experimentation, because it reduces the friction. You're not thinking about the cost, and you can really rapidly iterate. And once you get your final shots, maybe you go back to Nano Banana Pro to really nail them down. But I yeah, I was excited for this. It's basically, I wish they would just call it Nano Banana Flash rather than Nano Banana 2, because Nano Banana Pro is basically Gemini Pro under the hood, because it uses an LLM for world knowledge. This uses Gemini 3.1 Flash or 3 Flash, but
They probably
yeah,
3.1.
whatever the latest flashes. And so yeah, that's what Nano Banana uses. But very cool.
So it's interesting.
And
So what's the difference here? So it's faster? It's cheaper? Is it better? Like
it's faster, it's
what's
cheaper.
the okay.
Nano Banana Pro is 20 cents, I believe. And then here you can do 8 cents for an image. If you really want to experiment, you can go down to 5 by 12, 512 by 512, which is 6 cents, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
6 cents. That's cool. And so what other models are on that range of 6 cents per image? Is that like
6 cents is actually on the
Flux?
higher end. Most models, like, if you look at Quen image or Fall 2, they're 0.01, but they do by megapixel. So if you just, the average image is around 1 to 2 megapixels. So you can get a cent to 2 cents per megapixel usually. With really Z image turbo and stuff, which are like, you can get like 100 images for $1. So yeah, the price of images are usually, I would say, is 1 to 3 cents is like the for high quality
Right.
images. It's
And
fine.
a megapixel here would be 1024 by 1024, right? So like
Yeah.
1 megapixel.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
But
it's a little on the higher end, but again, the quality, if the quality is good, like you can create these amazing infographics and stuff. It's like worth paying it. I
right.
also want to call out on this because we're talking about cost. There's this company called PrunaAI, and I think I've talked about them before. I think they partner, or they're acquired by Replicate, who's now acquired by Cloudflare. Everyone's just acquiring each other. PrunaAI basically really optimizes. They basically have these cracked engineers who figure out how distillation and how to run something for less cost. So they have tons of models which they'll take an open source model and just reduce the cost. They have their own model, P-image and P-video. P-image used to cost 1 cent for every image edit. And I've tried that. The image editing is really good. Like, I would say maybe not quite at Nano Banana 2 level, but for a 1 cent, it's really good. I actually built a product where I did 100 image edits of one image, and I did a picture book.
Wow.
It was actually
Yeah, yeah,
really
right.
consistent, pretty good. Um, so they just released today P video, and this is, I think, the pricing is basically a cent. Like, if you go down, it takes less than 10 seconds to generate a 10-second video with less than a cent per image per second. And so, to give you an idea, like Kling 3, which is really expensive, is like around 20 to 30 cents per second. That's the same for VO, I guess. And so you can rapidly iterate now on video. Just create in really rapid fire 10, 20, 30-second videos. And then when you like it, you can upscale and use a bigger model, right? So we've talked about this flow before. Low cost image, high cost image for your storyboard, then low cost video, LTX2, or now this one, then go to, Kling or Cdance, etc. So yeah,
Right.
really exciting stuff. And
Wait,
they
wait.
made it free for the next 24 hours. So definitely encourage you guys to jump on Replicate and just spam their API. Really great, 3-hour length videos right now.
No, this is super. Yeah, it's super interesting. Wait, so I'm just reading this. So draft on, draft off. Do you know what this means?
So draft is basically, I think, a lower quality. Like, I think they might do like a 240p or 340p, and then you upscale. I don't know if you
So
can
that's
get the same thing, but
right.
yeah, it
So
just
this is
has.
essentially what you're talking about right here. Is like, hey,
Yeah,
generate the first draft on a lower resolution. It's cheaper. Like right here, I see for 720p. If you have draft on, it's 5 cents per second of compute versus draft off, which is 20 cents. So that's
right.
or 2 cents. So
Yeah.
it's a
So
four
75.
times.
Yeah, 4 times more expensive. And my question there would be like, can I deterministically get, like, if I do draft off to on, would I be able to get the same thing? Because, what if you like a video, but then you do draft on it's slightly different, which would be annoying. That's why a lot of people, what they do is they'll generate something on draft, or they'll use something called upscale video. So there's a bunch of upscalers like Bria and Magnifique, and they'll upscale the video from 3p to 3p. And upscaling is, compared to like generating something from scratch, is actually cheaper. But the question, it does take a long time from in my
Hmm.
experience. But that's
That's
another
interesting.
approach. You can just generate something for like 360p, and once you like it, just upscale.
Right, right.
And
So
also
this is
their native audio, which is insane. Like insane. Less 1 cent per second, turbo and audio. Like you have audio video, like you can actually give it an audio thing. The guy, like it's so good. Like you look at the video and it's like the mouth is moving in sync with the audio. It's insane. So
right. It's Kermit the Frog here on the list. Well, we might get demonetized. You said so. No audio, but
yeah, he's singing Freddie Mercury's song. Is actually pretty on point.
you have to check it out. We'll link to it in the show notes here for Pruna AI P video, fast video gen.
Now,
But yeah,
this is like the only thing I go on replicate now, because everything else I feel like I go on Valve, the replicates kind of just
right.
sadly fallen behind. But they do have Pruna.
There was a cool other thing too about Nano Banana too. I saw Sundar posted this about did I post the link here? Maybe I didn't. Google released this like it's called window shopping or window something. Did you see this? So it was pretty much using Nano Banana 2. They were able to put a location of somewhere in the world and using real weather data. So like what the current weather in that location is like right now, because it has Google search information. It just like you could put yourself in a coffee shop in London and look out the window and like what the weather's like and what like the kind of environment would look like right there at
Nice.
that one time. It was pretty cool. It was like a demo of just like capabilities of Nano Banana 2.
Right.
They had like
So just to clarify, is that part of Nano Banana, or you're just hitting a weather API, getting the information, then generating a prompt
it
using like it's
that's
raining?
I'm pretty sure because the models now are becoming interesting where it's like what's the model and what's like the web search tool because obviously
Right.
you don't know what's like the weather would be
Yeah. Well, that's the
not in
power
the
of
model.
Nano Banana is like it's not just an image model. It's paired with the LLM. So Gemini Flash, Gemini Pro. So and Gemini Pro does have web search. So you can like I think yeah, I did see something like that because now when you can say give me current day London in the prompt, and because it's an LLM and because it has web search, it should just be able to pull the current day in the prompt, and you don't have to stitch together a separate tool call web search, get that, then generate the prompt with, oh, it's a rainy day, 65-degree foggy. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's like all abstracted into one thing. That's actually pretty cool.
Totally. Yeah. If you're a company that's working on web search like Tavless or Fire, like, I don't know, these companies, I'd be worried. I mean, like Google's been doing search forever and they look like they're at the racetrack. So it'd be hard. You're going to compete in their core domain. But this is the thing, the demo that Sundar posted. So Brighton Beach, UK, look at West Pier. So it generated like an image, window size, and a real-time weather source. So in here, Lake District in UK, from the door of my tent. Nothing super crazy here, but it was kind of cool that it had the real-time weather source. And then you can also add the weather in. It's just a cool little demo of
Yeah. I
Nano
think
Banana too.
that is actually very interesting. And I'm sure we're going to see some cool use cases of inbuilt, like web search knowledge of there's so much you can do. I mean, same with the infographics. You can like ask it to create an infographic of the weather we saw, like the from evaporation. So, and because it's an LLM, it understands the cycle of water, going to a
Hmm.
cloud back. And
Right.
so you don't, with other models, you'll have to do the research and you can, and then generate the prompt to, oh, the web, this should say here, blah, blah, blah.
Totally. No, it's super interesting. One last thing I wanted to talk about, just because it released today, I thought it was really cool because I've always wondered
Yeah.
why there wasn't more about this. Quiver AI. So Quiver AI, what it is, it's a foundational model for SVG generation. So SVGs are scalable vector graphics. We've talked about this before on the podcast, actually, like probably a while ago.
Yeah, with
But
Recraft probably, because
with
they're the only
Recraft,
ones I know that do it when they're
right? Yeah, and so I wish I had a better comparison between Quiver and Recraft, like where they stand out. Supposedly, what it seemed like is Quiver is just better, but Who
Well, it
knows?
looks like they're just going for the application. They're trying to build almost like a Figma, like maybe you can build animations and stuff versus Recraft is just the model.
Right, right. Yeah. So supposedly Quiver AI was like it was a PhD guy that and his like thesis was on vector graphics and stuff, and he just built the model. But
You can do a PhD in vector graph. That's actually pretty good. Oh, I spent 8 years of my life on SVGs. That's
yeah,
nice.
I don't know. But it was pretty cool. I mean, here's the interface. You could just kind of
Wow, these are pretty good. Maybe we'll use them for Jellypod. Who knows?
they're really good. Like they're really, really good. Like I wonder if it say generate a jellyfish. I think you get 20 free SVGs. I signed up for this earlier. But it's going to be cool to show the progress of how it's working. It actually was going to stream in the intermediate steps. I don't know how long it takes, but it was good for SVGs, and then also SVGs very closely related to typography and like fonts.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine like all those font. If you're a company and you're selling fonts, you're dead. I'm sorry. So oh look at this. Watch this.
Oh,
It's like
oh,
literally it's drawing this.
that's amazing.
So I'm gonna be very curious. It's like some autoregressive model.
Interesting. So it's like probably has a smart way of with SVGs, you can have the line vectors and stuff like so it's adding in stuff for but it's doing it in a very nice like because usually I've done this before where I've taken an SVG and I've tried to build an animation by adding the SVG subcomponents, but it's random because there's no logic to this line follows this line. But here they're doing it in a very nice way, which is pretty cool.
Right.
Like it's
No,
almost like
it's.
somebody's drawing from a pen.
I probably should have done an easier thing than Jellyfish. But there's that one. That's very, very blocky, very futuristic, interesting. That one's done here. I have a feeling these other ones are gonna finish pretty soon because they're all maybe. Yeah, think about how this it's crazy how slow this is. We're
It's
just so
probably a very
used to
detailed SVG.
right. We're just so used to like these instant things, and 10 seconds seems slow. And now it looks like there's another one. There's the that one's okay. Jellyfish is a tough one to do. There's a lot of curves. But
Right.
wow, look at the first one. That one was pretty
Oh, yeah,
good.
that one looks nice. Maybe
So
that's more usable for us, like it's our color too. But yeah, I mean, the way they did, because my next question was going to be on animation, because they didn't mention they could animate SVG. So I was like, how are they going to do that? So it makes sense. Yeah, well, look at all those paths and stuff, right? So they have a way of, I guess, doing it intelligently. Because this was actually Recraft tried to do. This was one of their complaints was like they would generate amazing SVGs, but the SVG itself was just a mess. Because a lot of times designers actually want clean SVGs so they can easily like take off, do layering and stuff. And so they just released the V4 model, which is supposed to be better with that. And
mm,
it looks like these guys. I mean, like you said, the guy had a PhD in SVG, so he probably really understands in detail like how to optimize the code behind SVGs. Because the power of SVGs is layering. People want to take it; they want to be able to take each of these jellyfishes off if they want, twist it and stuff, and be able to do that, and then animate
totally.
it.
Yeah, because like if you've ever worked with SVG, sometimes you like this is like disgusting. This the number of code like the code is so big.
Yeah, this is
You
actually
just
pretty
don't want to
clean.
use it.
This
It's real.
paths and stuff.
It's really clean for something this complex. Like this one, it blows my mind. Look, there's a lot of different colors. There's gradients. There's a lot of different paths, and for it to be probably sub 50 lines here. And there's some bigger paths, but like
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need those, but
you
yeah.
need them for the curves.
Yeah, and I guess do they have an animation like thing as well?
So imagine vectorized. So you're asking for like if they just have the ability to animate an SVG?
Because I saw on the landing page they were doing some sort of animation.
Yeah, maybe. Let's just see. I don't know.
Maybe that's coming.
Made by researchers, built by researchers, made for designers, logos, typography. Oh, there. This one's animations coming to bring SVGs to life without turning design into engineering.
See, we
This is
were
gonna be
just
cool.
talking about loading screens for one of our features in Jellypod. I'm like, hey, we could do something like this. That's
Yeah,
pretty
this
cool.
is cool. I've always wanted to be able to do these things, but they're actually pretty hard. When we redesigned the front end website for Jellypod, I mean, I was trying to figure out how to do some of this stuff. Uh, LMs do not know how to do animations
Yeah,
or SVGs.
but the
Like
cool
they
thing
just
about these is like if you do figure they're very performant because they're just SVG animations. They're just
Mhm.
CS. I mean, compared to like having a GIF or a video, it's just so much lighter. So performance wise, it's really great for websites.
Totally. Yeah. That's super interesting.
Thanks.
Well, congrats on the launch and the $8.3 million seed round led by A16Z. So congrats, team.
Congrats, A16Z. Up there with all the Gen Media. I mean, they and I guess Mello are really like, dialing in. I guess
Right.
everyone is, but A16Z is kind of like the Gen Media VC firm,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
true.
great.
And you got like the more twins and everything.
Yeah.
But well, awesome. On that note, I think we covered a lot today. There's a lot of stuff. We never know going into this how it'll turn out, but it was pretty solid
Yeah. It's fun as always. All right,
as
guys,
always.
take care.
Okay, cool. Take care.